so we will reap. And what I want to share with you this morning is some things that he's been teaching me over this last year. And I want to call it the triple blessing of giving. So if you want to look in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 29. It says, so the whole chapter is about tithing, why we should tithe. And so the verse I want to highlight, it says, and it's talking about, don't forget to bring your tithes and give to these people. And it says, and to the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates, that they may come and eat and be satisfied, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand, which you do. So I thought it was interesting. So the Levite was the person who worked in the temple, maintained the temple, helped people to worship God, helped with the offerings. And so I asked myself, do we have someone who's in the role of a Levite today? Do these tithing principles, do they still apply to us today? Well, yeah, today instead of a Levite, we have a pastor. And instead of a temple, we have a church. And so God's principles are still applicable because we still have the same setup and the same scenario today. Bring your tithes to the pastor and to the church. And then it also says, just along those lines of why should we bring our tithes? In the New Testament, it says, let him who is taught the word, which is us, me, normally I'm sitting here where you guys are being taught the word, share in all good things with him who teaches. So that's what God's saying, is that we should share all our stuff, a tithe, with the one who teaches, with the pastor, with the ones who work to maintain the church and help us worship and know God. That's from Galatians 6, verses 6 through 7. And then, of course, verse 7 is the verse that I also love, that I shared. Do not be deceived, God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For giving our tithes to the church, our seed will grow and it will produce a harvest. It's guaranteed. And then also in the verse, we see four groups of people here that God's concerned about in the Old Testament. He talks about the Levite, the widow, the orphan, and the stranger. In other translations, that's the foreigner. So I asked myself, do we still have widows today? Yes. And do we have orphans in our society? Yes. Our foster care system, is full of children. Do we have foreigners? Yeah, we have a huge refugee population in the Phoenix area. We have tons of immigrants. These are people that are close to God's heart, that he specifically outlines that we should take care of. And I think that's two categories. The church, the Levite, we're supposed to bring our tithes. And then God's heart is also for the poor, the widow, the orphan, the foreigner. Those are the people that are needy, the disenfranchised. God wants us to share those things with them. And then the last part of verse 29, I just want to go back to it again, because it's interesting to me. It says that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand, which you do. I thought that was interesting, because if it would have said, and the Lord will bless the widow because of you, that would make sense. I would have just read it and kept on going. But wait a minute, it doesn't say the Lord will bless the widow or the orphan will be blessed. It says that the giver will be blessed. So he made a specific point to say that the giver is the one who will be blessed. That's the one that he wanted to highlight. And so that's the first blessing of giving. The giver. If we give and if we sow financially, we will be blessed back. That's what God says. It's a principle. And the second blessing is the recipient. The widow, the orphan, the foreigner, the people that are receiving, the people that are in need, they'll be blessed too. They'll be blessed by our gift. That's the second blessing. And then in the next chapter, Deuteronomy 15, it talks more about being generous to the poor. And in verse 10, it says, you shall surely give to him, which is your poor brother, and your heart should not be grieved when you give to him, because for this thing the Lord your God will bless you in all your works and in all which you put your hand to. So that means if you give, if you're generous to the poor,